welcome to another Fight of the Night review. My first one in quite a few weeks, mostly because there's actually Fight of the Night to review this time, and spoiler is a pretty good one. It is between Matt Bryan and Bryan Barbarena. It was last night at UFC Fight Night, Blade versus Dorcas. I have still no clue how to actually pronounce that, at the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio, and there's a reason I'm actually bringing up the arena this time, as we'll get to when we talk about the fight, so let's talk about the fight. And so we begin, as always, with round one, and yeah, the reason I brought up why it's in Ohio is because Matt Bryan is from Ohio, specifically from Columbus, and the crowd are super behind him, not so much behind Barbarena, but yeah, we should actually talk about the round itself. Pretty good start, honestly. Matt Bryan has some pretty good counters going on. He's pressuring Barbarena a lot pretty early on. He lands some really good body kicks and leg kicks against him. Bryan lands a good few kicks as well. He does try and keep a good elbow counter going, but every time he goes for a good sweep, he's countered by a foot sweep from Bryan. He's countered quite a couple of times in round one, and he's even taken down by Bryan at some point in round one, and Bryan is pretty much staying on him. His wrestling is just clearly out surpassing Bryan's. He's just staying on top of him a lot more. He does throw some good ground strikes. There is a moment where he sort of has a sideways back position against the cage, and that allows Bryan to land some pretty good shots. They weren't super damaging, but they were just sort of like that. Actually, kind of hurt a little bit. I think I did them harder than Bryan. Nah, I don't want to test that theory. Bryan would murder me. But yeah, pretty good stuff from him. However, round one was fairly close and fairly entertaining, but Matt Bryan, I think, wins round one. He was pressuring Barbarena a lot more. His takedowns and counter foot sweeps were really great. He landed a beauty of a body kick as well. He was throwing a lot of really great shots to the body. And they were sort of accumulating to the head. There was a great moment where they broke away from the takedown near the end of the round, and Bryan landed a really good elbow, which I would call the biggest strike he landed in that round. But yeah, round one, as close as it could have been and as fun as it was, I give it to Matt Bryan. We then move to round two, and so far it's looking kind of the same as round one. Matt Bryan has landed a takedown or two pretty quickly. He opens the round within the first 10 minutes, 10 seconds. God, could you imagine 15-minute rounds now? He opens the round within the first 10 seconds with a really good body kick, and you can hear the snap of it. And again, Bryan is focusing on going for the body. But then there's a pretty good turnaround point. At some point, I think Bryan does get a takedown of sorts, but the main point comes when they're both staying in the pocket, and they do this quite a lot in the fight, and I'd love a couple of fighters to stay in the pocket. But Barbarena lands an elbow, and it knocks Bryan loopy, basically. It doesn't knock him out, doesn't knock him down, but he is out on his feet after this point, and he is struggling to stay in it. And Barbarena, to his credit, is following up with some really good strikes, with some really great counters. And it completely sort of sways the round to Barbarena, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, Matt Bryan is still pretty impressive, and he does manage to hang in there against Barbarena, and he even lands a really good head kick as well to counter. But Barbarena's just in there a bit more. He's landing a lot cleaner this time around, and because he's landing cleaner, and he opened the round with some really good leg kicks of his own too, Bryan is noticeably slowed down, and he's kind of out on his feet, but he doesn't manage to survive the round. But yeah, I give round two to Barbarena. It was, again, pretty close round, but again, very fun, and yeah, Barbarena just outstruck Matt a little bit more, and he was working his timing a bit better, which was really good stuff. And then we move to round three, and surprisingly, even though both men are bloody knackered and rocked and tired, it is an absolute barnstorm of a round. There's not really as much grappling in this one. I think Bryan manages to get a takedown at least once. There's a great takedown he gets near the end of the round, I think, which Bryan almost turns into a guillotine, but his body's too much on the side, so he's not able to lock anything in. And there's really not a lot of submission attempts gone for, although there is a moment a bit later on during that same grappling sequence where Matt tries to go for an armbar sort of from behind. It doesn't work for him, and Bryan's able to get out. But yeah, for the most part, round three is a almost completely stand-up war, and it's absolutely fantastic. The two men are knackered, they're bloodied, they're both opened up by some vicious elbows that they've been landing. I mean, Matt Bryan has been trying to land the elbow for the entire fight, and succeeded for the most part. Bryan landed a really great elbow too. He landed a great elbow uppercut at some point. But yeah, both men bleeding, both men battered the crap out of, and they're just swinging for the fences. Slow, but somehow still landing for the most part. There's a good moment where Matt Bryan lands a head kick in round three. And basically, yeah, the entirety of round three is just a hell of a slugfest. The two men landing big shot after big shot, not going for the legs as much, basically exclusively headhunting, staying in the pocket, landing great shots, great punches, great elbows. Some really good kicks as well. Matt Bryan lands a knee up the middle as they go for a clinch, and it's just an absolute war. It's very difficult to call who wins it, but I think Barbarena does manage to sort of sneak away. I think he was landing a little bit better. and he was his leg kick work was pretty good too, and he did manage to get a couple of takedowns on Bryan in round 3, which I think helped sway it in his favour, but it wasn't unanimous by any means. And Matt Brown, he's Matt Brown. He's very difficult to put down. Having said that, the conclusion of the fight, I absolutely fully agree with, even though it is in Columbus, Ohio, and the crowd was super vocal behind Matt Brown. Matt Brown did lose by split decision. I don't have any qualms about that. Round 1 definitely goes to Matt Brown. Round 2 was very close. I give the first half to Matt Brown, but I think Barbarena did enough in the second half of the round to win it. And Barbarena and Brown both went for it in round 3. Again, very close, but Barbarena was just looking a little bit fresher, and, you know, Matt Brown was probably still rough from the elbow, suffered in round 2. Even though Barbarena was rocked with a head kick pretty early on in round 3 as well, he still managed to tough through, because Bryan Barbarena and Matt Brown were both tough son bitches, and this was absolutely a fantastic fight. I'm not going to lie, I think it could be, like, thinking back on it, I think it could be a top 10 contender. I absolutely enjoyed and adored this fight. Just two fighters I really like anyway, two tough, always going at it welterweights who have, like, the experience to put on a banger. Absolutely put on a banger. So, yeah, do not be surprised if you see this at my on my best of the year list whenever I do that. Although if it's not, don't take that offensively, because you should absolutely watch this fight yourself. It is fucking phenomenal. And that'll about do it for this review. As for what's next from me, well, tomorrow, hopefully, the very brief history of Future Islands, and then on Tuesday, the full episode. Also tonight I'm going to try and put up the full pay-per-view for Locked and Loaded. It's obviously I streamed it on Friday, and I'm going to put it up on YouTube. Also, thank you to everyone who watched my Grim Fandango stream last night. I can't wait to start putting that one together. I've still got to do the Titanfall 2 Let's Play. I'll probably get that done before the end of the week. There's not really a lot of parts left to do. But yeah, it's pretty much my schedule for the week. Also, music of the week at some point. Possibly Thursday, because that's just how my record's been going. And I'll see you all tonight, sort of tomorrow. I'll see you when I see you, basically. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.